Yo creo que...
Hola, buenos días.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Hola,
Buenos
Días.
días.
Buenos
Buenos
días,
días.
¿cómo estáis?
Buenos
hola,
días.
buenos días.
Buenos días, ¿cómo
Hola.
están?
Hola a todos.
Buenos días, buenos días.
Buenos días.
Oh, qué alegría teneros a todos
Mira.
aquí.
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
Qué gusto. Qué gusto. Os doy un abrazo enorme a todos.
Gracias, lo mismo.
Otro para usted. Saludable abrazo.
Gracias, gracias, igualmente.
Y aparte de daros la bienvenida y las gracias por estar en esta semana, quiero deciros que
Buenos días.
sin vosotros...
Buenas.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Una vez que hayamos dicho hola, os ruego si ponéis el micrófono en silencio y así habláis, le dais al micrófono solo cuando queráis hablar y así nos escuchamos todos. Tengo previsto hacer una introducción ahora de lo que es la semana, de lo que vamos a hacer y después vamos a pasar en 11 minutos al primer conferenciante que tenemos esta semana, que es Emilio Galli. Bueno, primerísimo, muchas gracias a todos, de verdad, es un honor y un gustazo que estéis aquí. Sé que estáis hartos de estar delante de la pantalla, sobre todo en estos últimos meses, sé que es muy cansado y hemos pensado esta semana de manera que sea dinámica, que sucedan muchas cosas y que participéis mucho. Y sobre todo que os sea útil, que os sirva en este momento, que como se llama la semana, es para liderar teniendo en cuenta el contexto online y teniendo en cuenta el momento de crisis por el COVID que estamos viviendo. En ese sentido, estamos todos teniendo que aprender y que saber manejarnos frente a una crisis. Y digo frente deliberadamente. La crisis está ahí y tenemos que encararla. Y tenemos que ver cómo la solucionamos. Nadie en el mundo, nadie, está mejor preparado que todos los que estamos en esta sala para acometer esa tarea. Y de eso estoy absolutamente seguro. Estamos entre el 0,000000001% de la población mundial que más puede influir en que todo durante esta crisis a continuación sea mucho mejor. Dejadme que... no sé por qué se ha salido. Espero que estéis ahí otra vez. Dejadme que os ilustre. Os invito a un viaje. Es este viaje de esta semana. Veis ahí un barco de vela encima de unos grandes bloques de hielo en la Antártida. Es que esto es en lo que estamos. Estamos en un momento realmente excepcional. Y es importante que sepamos que estamos en una situación realmente de excepcionalidad y en la que somos necesarios. No es que me gustaría, quiero aprender. No, no, no. Somos necesarios. Somos ese 0,0000001% de la población que más puede hacer en esta situación. Dejadme que establezcamos un poco el tono de lo que quiero contaros a través de este vídeo. Es acerca de una caja en la que muchas veces nos sentimos todos y yo creo que especialmente ahora metidos en casa, confinados muchos, sentimos que estamos dentro de esa caja. Os animo a que sintáis y viváis este vídeo desde ese enfoque.
It sometimes feels like life is trying to fit you in a box. School is putting you in a box. Your job is putting you in a box. The insurance company is putting you in a box. Maybe you don't fit in this box. Maybe you don't want to be in this box at all. And the only way out is the dark road. It's not an easy decision to take. It's not an easy road to walk. But the feeling of being trapped in a box is just so you enter into the dark. And it turns out that the dark doesn't hurt. Your eyes adjust and you see where the road is leading. It often leads to a point where you have to take a leap of faith or go back to the box. So you jump. The faith bit, it's not so much in the leaping. It's in the landing. The space between them can feel forever. But when you land, and you will, you learn that the landing teaches you to fly.
Creo que el vídeo se explica por sí mismo. En todo caso, tenéis un vínculo, no sé, creo que está abajo a la derecha, para los que queráis la traducción en inglés simultánea de cosas que están pasando. El orador, por ejemplo, que viene ahora va a hablar en inglés y los que prefiráis escuchar en inglés le podéis escuchar a él, los que prefiráis español lo tenéis ahí. También para todos los momentos en los que salte el inglés vais a tener esa posibilidad dentro de esta semana. ¿Cuáles son los requisitos? Os invito a un viaje como el de la caja que ha vivido el personaje del vídeo. Está en una caja y habéis visto cómo ha salido de la caja. Primero pasando por una situación de adversidad en la oscuridad, después incluso saltando a un abismo que no conocía cuándo iba a aterrizar. Y decía la voz, ¿no? Lo difícil no es tanto el viaje, es cuándo voy a aterrizar. ¿Cuándo esto se va a terminar? Que es lo que todos estamos sintiendo, yo creo, en esta situación. Porque no sabemos siquiera qué va a pasar o cuándo se va a terminar cualquiera que sea la fase en la que estemos de este virus. Y si vendrán más pandemias en el futuro, que seguramente sí. En ese sentido, esa caja es de la que vamos a hablar esta semana y de la que vamos a estar viendo cómo podemos ir saliendo, desde luego con sacrificio y desde luego siendo los que más podemos inspirar en el camino a otros. ¿Qué requisitos os pido en este viaje? Que prometo que va a ser fructífero. Ser puntuales. Es importante que a lo largo de estos 4 días seamos puntuales al llegar a las sesiones y en todos los requisitos que vamos a ir pidiendo de puntualidad y de horarios para cada una de las tareas que vamos a ir acometiendo. ¿Qué más? Ser constantes. Efectivamente, van a ser 4 días, va a ser cansado, pero os pido que seáis constantes. Va a ser fructífero, os lo garantizo, el esfuerzo que vais a dedicar. También os pido que seáis valientes, que os dejéis salir de donde siempre habéis pensado y que intentéis pensar diferente. Este es un momento para probar eso, es un laboratorio. Y que os dejéis penetrar por cosas que en ocasiones os puedan resultar extrañas. Os pido también esta frase en inglés que significa trabajar mucho y divertirse mucho también. Vamos a dejar 15 minutos entre sesión y sesión todos los días para que ahí miréis el WhatsApp, para que ahí entréis en vuestros mails, para que ahí podáis ir al baño o comer algo. Pero sí os pedimos que en estas horas que estamos juntos, que son muy, muy especiales y que son únicas, que disfrutemos a fondo de los ponentes, de la gente que participa y sobre todo que disfrutemos de vosotros y que disfrutéis de vosotros mismos. Esa consciencia también os la pido para estos días. ¿Cuáles son los objetivos que tenemos en esta semana? Estoy escuchando la traducción, no sé si todo el mundo, pero la estoy escuchando.
Sí, sí se escucha.
¿Cuáles son los objetivos que tenemos para esta semana? Pues aquí los tengo. En síntesis, quiero que nos enamoremos de la crisis, porque es que La crisis es como el mar para un pez ahora para nosotros. Es donde vamos a vivir. Quiero también que encontremos luz, referencias y herramientas para manejarnos en ese contexto. Quiero que aprendamos con los mejores, y los mejores no son solo los ponentes, y también las empresas que vamos a visitar y los directivos de esas empresas que van a venir. Los mejores sois vosotros. Vosotros sois los mejores. Y esos es de los que vais a aprender con seguridad en esta semana. También vamos a aprender a practicar cosas bajo presión, de tiempo, de espacio y de razonamiento. Y desde luego nos vamos a exponer a lo desconocido. ¿Alguien sabe quién es de esa frase, de dónde sale o quién es? Se buscan marinos para un viaje peligroso. Paga reducida, frío intenso, largos meses en la completa oscuridad, peligro constante. Es dudoso que puedan regresar a salvo. En caso de éxito recibirán honores y reconocimiento.
Es un marino.
Cristóbal Colón.
¿No?
Puede ser Cristóbal Colón. De hecho, pensé en intuir a Cristóbal Colón porque es suficientemente polémico para el tono que quiero en esta semana, que es que discutamos de cosas desde la profundidad de lo que está sucediendo en cada uno de los casos. Sí, podía ser Cristóbal Colón. Y no me he atrevido a poner a Cristóbal Colón, si os soy sincero. Y vamos a ser muy transparentes toda esta semana. Es Ernest Shackleton. Es famosísimo por sus aventuras antárticas. Durante la semana iremos viendo por qué. Pero os doy una primera impresión. No fue el primero en llegar al Polo Sur. Lo intentó muchas veces y no fue el primero. Fijaros, este es él antes de salir. Este es él durante el viaje. Y este es él después del viaje. Yo creo que es una muy buena ejemplificación física del aprendizaje de Shackleton a lo largo de ese viaje. Me gustaría que al final de esta semana tengáis esas arrugas y esas marcas en la piel del aprendizaje que ha resultado hoy y esta semana. Antes de salir, ¿hay alguien que no esté dispuesto a este viaje? Se puede bajar ya. No voy a mirar ahora el número de participantes, pero se puede bajar ya desde luego. ¡Vamos! Ignacio, Probos de Westfield. Quiero que también digas unas palabras y así ya presentamos a nuestro ponente de hoy.
Muchísimas gracias, Rafa. Disculpadme que no estuviese al inicio, tenía otro compromiso que tenía que abrir. Hay una charla que también se realiza hoy y me había pedido que presentase la sesión. Voy a acompañaros durante todo el resto de esta experiencia, así que bueno, vais a tener que soportarme durante los 4 días. Estamos en una nueva era. Podríamos hablar de la era después del COVID. Y en esta nueva era nos tenemos que transformar todos. Eso tiene mucho que ver con el tema de esta semana, en el que, como bien decía Rafa, vamos a trabajar desde el liderazgo, pero también vamos a trabajar la necesidad de la virtualidad que nos exigen las condiciones de salud que tenemos ahora mismo. Estamos experimentando. El punto de partida de Westfield para enfrentarse al mundo online, como os podéis imaginar, es aventajado porque es nuestro medio natural. Pero es la primera vez que intentamos trasladar la experiencia de la International Experience a un entorno que no nos obligue a estar juntos en una misma sala, que no nos obligue a transitar juntos hacia diferentes sitios y que podamos estar cada uno cómodamente y de manera segura conectado a través de Internet. Esto impone que estamos experimentando. El diseño de la semana lo hemos hecho con mucho cuidado y con mucho cariño y esperamos que funcione, pero necesitamos vuestro aporte y vuestra retroalimentación porque es cierto que es la primera experiencia que tenemos de este tipo. Y todos los aportes que nos podáis realizar nos van a venir muy bien porque es muy probable que tengamos que mantener este diseño para cuando pueda ser necesario. En este sentido, además, yo quiero recalcaros que el hecho de que estéis asistiendo a esta International Experience Online no os va a impedir en absoluto que podáis recuperar la experiencia de una semana, de una International Experience presencial cuando sea posible organizarla. En las fechas en las que estamos no era seguro el poder hacer la experiencia y hacer que viajéis unos a Singapur, otros a Miami, pero la oportunidad de poder participar en una International Experience presencial la tenéis. Completéis o no completéis estos cursos, este curso que tenemos, que nos va a permitir a los que estáis próximos a graduados, pues que no os retraséis en la graduación porque podáis cubrir los créditos correspondientes a la International Experience. Pero sí yo os quería invitar eso, que nos ayudéis con vuestras aportaciones. Tenemos ahí un chat que me da un poco de pena verlo sin mensajes, porque me gustaría que estuviese, tanto a Rafa como a mí nos gustaría que estuviese lleno de mensajes de vuestras aportaciones continuamente. Y no se cierra esa retroalimentación en el chat, sino que, por supuesto, pues estamos abiertos a que nos podáis aportar vuestras, por los canales de comunicación normales, que nos podéis aportar vuestra retroalimentación para ayudarnos a mejorar en lo posible el diseño de este tipo de semanas. Y bueno, como bien sabe Rafa, a mí me gustan mucho los micrófonos, así que voy a tratar de contenerme, porque si no puedo estar aquí durante mucho tiempo. Vamos, por supuesto, a dar paso a Emilio Galli, que es un auténtico lujo poder tenerlo con nosotros. Emilio, I just wanted to say hello, but I don't think we are going to introduce you yet. Creo que todavía no vamos a presentar a Emilio porque antes tenemos algo, ¿verdad, Rafa?
Sí, efectivamente. Mientras Ignacio prepara una encuesta muy breve que os vamos a lanzar, vamos a introducir encuestas a todo lo largo del camino. Y como bien os decía al principio, cuando os pedía valentía, la valentía parte también del compromiso intelectual y de la participación. Os decía, vais a aprender sobre todo, y seguro, mucho de vosotros mismos. El chat es un lugar para hacerlo. Cuando toque hablar, que os va a tocar hablar y mucho, es otro momento para hacerlo. Y ahora hay una encuesta, que a partir de ahí ya pasaremos a Emilio. Os lanzamos la encuesta para ver por qué estáis en esta semana. Quiero que contestéis la que más resulte, porque igual estáis en esta semana por distintas razones, por más de una. Pero sí quiero que contestéis a la que más os ha impulsado a estar en esta semana. Clic, 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 clic.
Bueno, va avanzando poco a poco. Tenemos ya unos 42, nos queda todavía que vote algunas personas.
Vamos ya por 47, 49, 50, 52, 54. Vamos, vamos, que estamos casi todos ya. 48. Cerramos, yo creo, ya, Ignacio.
Cerramos. Muy bien. Estos son los resultados. Por lo que compartimos los resultados y así los podéis ver. Aquí están. Bueno, tenemos una inmensa mayoría, 71%, que quiere aprender algo nuevo. Un aporte pues, más marginal para compartir mi saber y experiencia con otros. Unas 8 personas han votado eso y luego han recibido un par de votos las otras 3 opciones. Porque es necesaria para obtener créditos. Bueno, es obvio que es una de las razones, no lo vamos a negar, por curiosidad y por placer.
Pero estoy seguro que los que tienen que obtener créditos están también por las otras razones. Habéis venido al lugar correcto. Os quiero, si te parece, Ignacio, doy paso a Emilio. Perdonadme que me pasa el inglés, que así somos cordiales y generosos con nuestro invitado. Hello, Emilio. I want to introduce you to this only COVID week, which is actually the first week at Westfield, which is fully online. In history, is truly something that is very significant for us. We are an online school. We've been teaching and learning in the online environment for the last 20 years. But for us, this is the only experience that is been and is going to be only online and fully online. We're going to experience everything during the week: speakers, visits to companies, work groups, everything in a virtual environment. And for us, it's a true pleasure that you are here with us starting this week. For you all, Emilio is truly a man from Renaissance. Emilio is that kind of person that it's truly impressive from the outside and from the inside. He's a very, very expert business executive, and he's also a person inside with amazing human values. I'm not a kid anymore. I can tell that I am old enough to know when I meet someone that is truly impressive, and Emilio is one of those. To me, it's a truly honor and a pleasure to be considered his friend and soulmate in many regards. And it's, Emilio, a pleasure that you are here with us in this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You raised the bar. I'm very glad to be with you. Consider also the advantages of being in a virtual environment. Time constraints are enormous for every one of us, and sometimes travel constraints as well. I don't like to travel. I used to be a war correspondent. I used to be a reporter. I know all the 5-star hotels of the world. I flew on the Concorde first class. I hate traveling. I love to be in my bed with my wife. I love to be with my kids. And I turned down most of the invitations to travel around the world. This is past time. I would never turn down a virtual invitation because it combines the ease of being at home in my office and sharing whatever I know with you and whatever you know with me. So look at the bright side of the whole thing, and then look at also at another upside. It's like if you're looking for true relationships, for long-term relationships, sustainable relationships, don't look for one-night stands. This is not a true long-term relationship. A long-term relationship is made of bits and pieces. It's made of getting to know each other. It's made of testing the other, of keeping many promises, and then to grow this into a bigger relationship. This is exactly what you can do. You start with a virtual week, but nobody will forbid you, once we have a vaccine, once we have medication, to being able to share personal relationship, to meet people. And we'll talk about that. I'm turning my my watch on. I live in Germany and I'm used to being punctual. So Rafa said, I'm going to kill you if you overdo 20 minutes. Give them peace after 20 minutes. So I'm going to start my watch, my timer, and in 18 minutes, I'll get a wake-up call. And then we can have a little break with Q&A, and then we can go to the second part. What I'd like to share with you is a view on the year zero. Okay, so far, we are in the AC time, ante-corona. We are in the year zero now, and we'll give a look at what this year will give us in terms of reflection on things occurring, happening around us in the times of crisis. I'm a sailor like Rafa is, and sailors know that when you are in a cyclone, in a typhoon, in a hurricane, there is one place that is very quiet, and it's in the center of the hurricane. We are in the center of the hurricane. We are in the year zero, and that allows us to look at what is happening around us with a view that will allow us to be better leaders and succeed going forward. But in order to achieve that, we need to be reflective. And so therefore, I'm not going to share any crystal ball with you. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't walk on water. I don't transform water into wine. I'm just a poor Italian immigrant living in Germany with some experience. So I'm not going to share any big views on the world of tomorrow. I'm going to look at 6 areas that have been under the lenses, under the microscope, under observation of the business world in the last years, in the recent years, and that we looked at like rabbits look at a snake, okay? And then I'd like you to reflect today and the days forward on what these areas, how they might change because of Corona. And how they might change is not somewhere out there. in the White House or in Patagonia. It's with you. It's the 0.01% of the population that is shared around here, this virtual conference, that can make a difference, because it starts from us. And if you want to influence and shape your environment as leaders, the first thing you have to do is do the first step. If you want to run a marathon, it always starts with the first step. So let's look at those 6 areas. There are 6 areas that were under the microscope of business world so far, and they're looking different now in times of Corona. Area number 1 is what we call ESG, which is an abbreviation for environmental, societal, and governance. It's the view on society, on how society views us as business people and as corporates. And what is happening right now is, for example, look at the E. Now, we've had till January and February, we were challenged in year 2019 by Fridays for Future. You're all much younger than I am, but I have grown-up kids. And these people, and also smaller kids, and they ask us, and they ask me, what are you doing to change the planet? I recently had a friend who had his 10-year-old son, that was in January, telling Dad, why don't you join us for our Fridays for Future demonstrations, 10 years old? Because, you know, it's about my future. So what has happened to the environmental challenge during Corona? We've all seen the pictures from the satellites looking down on the Earth. And we've heard Jonathan Franzen, one of the big American writers, tell us in January, he said, look, climate change is gone. We're not going to meet the Paris goals. The climate is screwed. The only thing we can do is we can try to cope with a destroyed planet. Now, what we've seen in those recent months is that the lockdown and the tragedies going with Corona have allowed to halt pollution enormously. And the reach of the Paris Agreement goals is within sight. That is possible. Now, it will depend on us whether we'll look at the environmental challenge with the view of yesterday or the view of tomorrow. The S of ESG is society. And I give you one example that a good friend of mine shared, a wonderful woman called Angela Peacock, who is the master of inclusion. She's the woman who invented the unconscious bias test, if it says something to you. She said, look, Emilio, with all these video conferences, and actually now if I look at you, and if I click through those of you who are brave enough to keep the camera on, okay? Who of you is sitting in a wheelchair? I don't know. So what in yesterday's world was an obstacle, was a prejudice, was a hindrance in trying to take someone serious because this person has to overcome a difficulty, a handicap, a disability, it disappears. You don't know and you don't care. So it's an eye-level conversation, even with people who have a totally different role. Or think of the G of governance. Look at the role of the states, even in the most liberal states, in Germany, in Scandinavia, not to think of America and so forth. The role of the states is changing during COVID and Corona. Whether to the good or to the bad is not to me to judge, but there is a new role of the states. Or look at governance in companies. Now you don't have physical shareholders meetings. The smart chairmen and chairwomen of the companies are not happy with that. The stupid are happy because they say, look, a virtual AGM makes life easier because we don't have those people protesting and getting on our nerves. But basically what we are paid for as top managers is to stand a dialogue. And now having a virtual governance may be different. Or look at governance and the role of health and states. We've seen it in Italy, we're seeing it in different countries very heavily affected by Corona. Companies are taking over a state role. Because if you want to make sure that your people can come back to the offices, you have to guarantee the health and the sanity situation in order for them to come back. So you play the role that normally a government plays. So Corona has given us a different side on the ESG issue. Let's take the next one, digitization. Now everyone and their mother had to be digitalized until January and February. Everybody discussed it, but reality was that big chunks of companies and society resisted this enormously. Digitization was discussed, but do we really need it? We're a manufacturing company, and think of the prejudices around home office. You know, there still were people who actually said things like, home office is for those wives who paint their toenails and to have a day off at home on a Friday and we pay for it. These wives who paint their toenails today are carrying the know-how of how to manage something as complicated as working from home. So the whole look at digitization, for example, IT people were hated in companies because they were getting on everybody's nerves because of the virtual client, firewalls, and all this stuff. All those companies who already years ago had prepared their staff for this were ready from day one of the lockdown to continue management. And business continuity management was not of a challenge for them. So digitization got a huge increase. One of my clients, a company, a huge company, whose HR head has a budget of 54 million for the year 2020. He went to his CEO in March and said, I want to burn $54 million in 1 month, in the month of April. The CEO said, what did you smoke? And he said, I didn't smoke anything. I'm just telling you that we're spending this money to get all the people with laptops and organized to work from home, which they did. And now they decided that they can have home office till end of the year and they can keep the company running. So digitization has got a huge impact by Corona. And where does this lead will depend on us. The third area is motivation. Now, parts of the world were still living till February with the idea that motivation is based on carrot and stick, a system that is 20 years, 30 years, 100 years old, but definitely is not actual. We know that intrinsic motivation, and this is Daniel Pink, we know that intrinsic motivation is driven by 3 pillars. First is excellence, provide a perfect job. Second is autonomy, give people the freedom to do their job. And third is purpose. Why are we doing this? Now in Corona times, this is enormously changed. Our excellence has improved because we have gained digital skills we didn't have before. Before, the power games were that the 55-year-old old fart at the coffee machine was running the show. Now this guy is at home and he doesn't know how to run a Microsoft Teams meeting. While the nerd, the 23-year-old nerd with the braces and the big goggles, she now is the boss because she knows how to deal with it. And she can provide the know-how to deal with digitalization. And the same goes for autonomy. There are companies where people till February, with the bosses marched with the whip, going through the offices, checking whether people were playing with Warcraft or whether we're filling out the Excel sheets. This is gone in home working. This is gone. You can't control what people are doing behind the scene, whether they're wearing their pajamas or whether they're shooting at more chickens or playing Warcraft or doing their job. You cannot do anything but trust them with autonomy because you have no other choice. You can't ring the bell and check whether they're working at home. And the third is purpose. People are asking, what the hell are we doing? Why are we doing it? A friend of mine yesterday told me a wonderful story. He's a leadership coach and he has a 5-year-old kid. And he caught his kid with a sneaker on his ear, pretending this to be a cell phone. And he was talking into the cell phone, 5-year-old kid walking through the apartment saying, oh, I'm doing a leadership call tonight, but I don't know whether the kid is disturbing me while doing this. Now, our kids listen to what we do, and they can mirror what we do. And they will ask us, what the hell are you doing? When you were gone to the office, you were gone to the office. Dad or mom is working in the office. Now they're at home. They can share with us. And our wives and spouses are sharing these things with us. Why are you doing this? Is this time lost? You have red eyes at the end of the evening. What for? You've had 10 calls during the day. What for? So Corona is challenging intrinsic motivation. The fourth area is ambidexterity. Now, since the 70s, we've been discussing ambidexterity, which is the ability of a company or a leader to both be flexible and stable, to both be innovative and manage things top down. Now, and you used to have CEOs who were restructuring experts and CEOs who were growth experts. Gone. Now you need to manage both at the same time. You have to manage business continuity just to keep the company going on one hand. On the other hand, you have to think about reinventing yourself. One of the things that I do, I run an academy that is specialized on leadership. Okay, and in our academy, we only do workshops, physical workshops. Now, from one day to another, our business was gone. So we needed to reinvent ourselves digitally. And this is just a minor company. Westfield is advantaged because the concept of Westfield was already much more advanced than my own concept. And this goes for many other businesses. People are totally reinventing themselves. I could give you many examples. I won't do for the sake of time. But managers and leaders now need both to manage stability and growth. Fifth area is relationships. Relationships are important. They're part of the Homo sapiens, of what we are as human beings. Now, we used to share communication between warm communication and cold communication. Warm communication is hugging, is meeting, is having a town hall with people, with the leader in one room with his staff, with physical meetings. And then cold communication, which is WhatsApp, emails, and so forth. Now, the world has changed, and what has happened before, now since 10 years, we have digital communication. I remember the first time that one of my daughters answered to one of my emails or an SMS message, she answered LOL. And I was ravished because I thought she meant lots of love. What a stupid dumbass. She was laughing out loud and I didn't know. So the kids invented abbreviations and emojis to express emotions even in a cold digital world. And now we're applying this. You cannot interact with others without using emojis to convey irony, to convey sense of humor, to convey empathy. So we're mixing this up and we're learning enormously. And there is a longing for personal exchange. People who've been long in the lockdown are longing for it. The CEO of Airbnb said recently, a couple of days ago, he said, you know, we used to travel for business, okay, and stay home and relax. And now we work from home and we will travel for fun, for the family, because we see little reasons to travel for business, not only for health reasons, but also most of the times it doesn't make sense to pollute the air just to shake hands. On the other hand, we're refurbishing our offices. A client of mine is reducing the office space by 80% because he says we let the people work from home. And we're going to reward them for being at home because actually we're poaching their pockets because they pay the rent and the mortgage for the offices. So we want to return something to them. They're providing architects to allow them to have a better workplace at home. They're providing tax consultants to make sure that their office at home is tax deductible. And they're looking at office spaces not for working, but for joining. Yesterday, I was at a YESA event, you know, the business school of Barcelona, actually introduced to them by Rafa. Thank you for that. And in the room was one lawyer working with 800 different lawyers and an entrepreneur, a hip, scale-up, unicorn, cool app company. You know what? The lawyer and the 800 colleagues are working in all their offices in Frankfurt, in a huge skyscraper. They're all physically there. And the good, cool company, the innovative company, they're all working from home. You know why? Because the lawyers still have old-fashioned offices with one person per room. And from health point of view, that's a safe environment. And the cool dudes with the open space environment where you have sofas, hugging space and so forth, they have to stay home because from a health point of view, it doesn't work. So we're changing the whole relationships and this world will change afterward. And we come to the last but not least area, which is leadership. This is a test for credibility of leadership. And look, I've gone through many crises and one of my tasks in the past was head of crisis management of the largest insurance company of the world. So I've seen 3 financial crises, 87 and 2 financial crises in the last years. I've seen September 11, okay? We had 400 people working in one of the 2 towers and we managed to save them 1 minute before the second airplane crashed into the building. We were there when the tsunami was there in Japan and we had to evacuate people from Japan. So I've seen everything. I didn't see a pandemic before. So in previous crises, you could have a campaign, like, you know, the generals, they have the campaign on their shirts, Afghanistan, Iraq, and so forth. There is no one who has the campaign pandemic. There would be someone if there would be someone around 140 years old who would be a grown-up during the Spanish flu in 1918. Okay, this would be someone who would have the pandemic experience. There is nobody on the planet having it. So if you don't have the experience as a leader, you cannot claim, I can tell you what I know how to deal with it. The alternative to experience is character. Character beats experience. And values and mindset allow this. Now, the mindset, for example, may start with a simple question about your staff. How are you? And you really mean that question. And how do you work? For some of my friends, the lockdown has been bliss. A friend of mine is chairman of Deutsche Bank. I called him up a couple of weeks ago, said, how are you, Paul? He said, wonderful. And I'm Christine, his wife, who actually is in the board of Bayer, of Munich Re, and of the German Stock Exchange. So she's not the wife at home. She's, here is the timer. I have 1 minute to go. She said, look, I've been fighting with my husband for the last 5 years to have it at home and have a conversation with the kids. Now, because of the lockdown, all 3 kids live at home, and my husband cooks lunch and dinner. We see him, we live him. They love the lockdown. Others are living in 50 square meters with 3 kids screaming who have to do homeschooling. You have only 1 computer and you cannot match all the things. They die. And others are singles who are craving for relationships. The good leader looks at these aspects. So mindset beats experience. So here I'm done with that first part. I'm happy to take questions. I'm happy to give you a bio break. I'm happy to, the only thing you can't do, you can't strangle me, because fortunately, I'm not physically in front of you.
Thank you, Emilio. Well, there's the chat. You cannot see it maybe, but it's very active, and there's plenty of people first saying that you are great, and I love it. Acknowledging, the pleasure of having you here with us today. And there's so many questions that we cannot address all of them, right? But I'm gonna try and see which ones of them make sense together somehow, so that we can address as much as possible and as many questions as possible, right? There's one that it's been touched in different ways, which is like, it's related to the fact that, in the future, there will be crises, but maybe technology is not necessarily the most important thing to take into account in the following crisis somehow. But it's about motivation of the teams and the people around. You mentioned trust. You mentioned many things that are relevant here. Can you tell us something about how to keep the motivation of the teams in environments like this? You are muted.
Sorry. Well, basically, I say remember the 3 pillars of excellence, autonomy, and motivation. For example, autonomy. Think of the fact this will not go away. Before, you could look at your staff with the whip and check whether they were playing on computer or working. Now you're giving the autonomy. Once they come back to the office, if you start the old way, you will lose them. You will only keep the survivors. The talents you will lose immediately. Or look at excellence. Remember that excellence is not only made of being a doctor, a medical doctor, and having done the good studies. I give you the example. If you studied medicine and you are a truly analytical person who can live out of a pizza box for 24 hours until you find the comma mistake in a text of 20 pages, you're a medical doctor, but you are a medical scientist. If you have studied medicine and are able to explain the neurons and synapses to a stupid bozo like me, you're a wonderful medical professor. If you studied medicine, but you're a wheeler and dealer and are able to organize a bottle of Millésime Champagne 1987 Menil de Blanc in the middle of the Sahara Desert at 12 o'clock, you are a wonderful chairman of the Medical Association. If you are you studied medicine and you're a good writer, you can be the head of the scientific page of Süddeutsche Zeitung, which is what happens to a friend of mine who is a doctor. So look at excellence from different point of view. And if you do that, you will be able to motivate your people. How do you do it? Ask the question. There's a wonderful book, the best book on HR that I've ever read. It's called Love 'Em or Lose 'Em. It's the handbook that was used by the people at General Electric in the times of Jack Welch. And it was just a handbook for the company, and now it's been published. There is one thing, there are many good things, one thing that you can keep in mind, and that is, if by the end of the week, you know 3 more things about your diary reports, whatever they are, private, family related, business related, if you know 3 new things about your people, you're a good leader. Because you will ask the questions and you will listen to them. And the third is about the purpose. Remember the purpose, the importance of the purpose. I can share many stories. One is very simple. My boss is an alumnus of Wharton School, because he's gone and I'm gone. And he asked me to attend a Wharton School job fair ages ago. You were all not born. It was in the 90s, okay? Then I had to go from Manhattan, where I was, to Pennsylvania, and I was there, and before me, there was a guy called Mr. John Corzine, and he was the CEO of Goldman Sachs. And the other one was Mr. Rajiv Gupta, who was the CEO of McKinsey. And then comes Emilio Galli, never heard of a company Allianz, never heard of. So instead of delivering a speech, I told them, share a story with me. And they said, what do you mean? I said, a story with a societal impact and personal. I said, okay, interesting. So what do you mean? I told them, look, my dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer. My mother has passed. My brother lives in Havana. The other brother lives in Leipzig in Germany. My 2 sisters live in Rome. My dad lives in Milan. How do we care for him now that he's demented? Okay, so there is a personal aspect and a society. So they got the message. There was one woman saying, I was grown up in Iowa in the Midwest, and my parents died when I was 4 years old. So I was grown up by my grandparents, and now they're old. I will get a job on the East Coast or on the West Coast. How will I deal with the old age care? And then another guy said, I live in Florida, I live in Tampa. And we had Hurricane Andrew, and the house of my parents has been destroyed. Now they're rebuilding it. I don't know what I should do. I said, oh, stop here. Now, if you want to make money, go to Goldman Sachs. If you want to do the strategy of other companies, go to McKinsey. If you want to deal with old people and their age care, or people who have been suffering from natural catastrophes, come and join our insurance company. So even an insurance company, the worst of the world, can have a purpose. So think of the purpose, and if you want to keep your good people, think of purpose, autonomy, and excellence.
Thank you, Emilio. We have here a question that is very, very concrete, so that's why it's so difficult, maybe. But it affects to many of us in many fields. The question is about someone that is in sales, and somehow it's very difficult now, to have that personal touch, that like face-to-face connection that makes selling easier, right? But we are all selling. I mean, it seems the person is asking is in a sales department or marketing department, but from the president of a company, the CEO down, everyone is selling all the time, because we are always about selling the product we have, right? And making of that product something that is truly meaningful for our customers. And the question is about how we can sell now through a screen like this, a display, and not having that personal relationship so close, which in the end is how to transmit emotions, no matter what, using new technologies for any purpose in our business life.
I give you a very banal example, but that I love. In April, I'm a risk patient, as Rafa knows, for health reasons, so I'm very careful. I really avoid to meet people, okay? And so, of course, I needed to have some fresh air and walk. And in April, I meet a good friend just by accidents, and he is an architect, and he's one of the leading, he has a leading company to build stands for fairs, okay? So, and I said, Armin, how are you doing? He said, it's a disaster. All the fairs have been canceled. I have no job for my people. So we're on special working agreements and so forth. And I said, look, Armin, come on, let's try to do something about it, okay? He said, oh, you're crazy. What do you think? Let's try something. What would be the next fair? He said, oh, it's the fair of workmen. It's like carpenters and installers and people like that in Cologne. This has been canceled as a fair. So I said, okay, now let's contact your best customer. Okay, the best customer is a company who's been at this fair for years, and they sell software. And actually, they have a great software that everybody who built a house would love. It's a software that allows you to see the progress of the building, and it allows the plumber and the carpenter and everyone to see where the progress is and how they can work in. So it's wonderful to coordinate complicated work. So I said, okay, then let's ask this company, what are the 3 reasons that make their visitors at a fair happy when they visit their stand? And the answer by this company was very simple and maybe a little banal, but I'm sharing it with you. The first reason they're coming is to look at the progress of the product. They want to see whether the software has changed, whether something is different. The second reason is this stand has traditionally the best cake of all the stands at this fair. So they go there and eat cake. They have great cake. And the third reason is, remember, these are handcraftsmen, okay? These are craftsmen. These are all male, and they're people like carpenters and plumbers and others. We have the best looking ladies, hostesses, at our stand. So they come to have a piece of cake, the nice hostess, and the product. Okay, so let's try something. So we set up a video call with the best client of this company producing software, which is a construction company in Brno, in Czech Republic, okay? So they had their video call, and with a special technique that I can share with you, you can even go into the 3D area. You can really show stuff, and showing a software was possible. They were sharing the screen, so they looked at it, it was just wonderful. They were explaining everything. In the middle of the video call, the doorbell rings at this construction company CEO. And he says, I'm sorry, I'm alone, I have to open the door. He went to open the door, and in the door stood a wonderful lady with a cake, with the best from the best cakery in Brno, bringing that cake and saying, this is a little gift from your partners that you're in the video call in. Have a nice day. Just very simple. You're combining something real, like a good piece of cake, with a nice lady bringing that cake, leaving the cake and leaving, and the nice surprise and the caring message. And the customer was just happy. He said, we didn't spend anything on the stand. We didn't spend anything on the travel. We just explained everything with a video call, and it cost us a cake. It kept the loyalty of the customer. I'm giving you that little example to tell you that even something impossible to imagine, like a fair with a stand for carpenters, you can reinvent virtually. And I'm sure we can go through every kind of business. It can reinvent sales experience with a personal touch. And basically, that's why I'm so insisting with all my students and so forth, always keep the camera on, keep the contact with the people. Make sure that the camera is always on. You can read the people. You don't know whether you know what a Duchenne smile is. The physiognomist, which is a category that has faded and disappeared. There were people who thought they would be able to judge people by their looks, okay? So this person has no chin, therefore he's a criminal. The last stage of the physiognomist was in the 20s when they took pictures of people. And one picture they took, you can Google it, is wonderful, is of a Madame Duchenne. And Madame Duchenne smiled. And the Duchenne smile is now famous in psychology and physiognomy because you can see the true smile from a fake smile. The true smile engages many muscles in our face and the eyes. And kids and dogs recognize a fake smiling person immediately. And we have lost this, and we can have it. So make sure you are in a video conference. You really exchange and link it to a physical meeting that will occur one day. You can use the mail. You can send something. You can make sure that there is a physical contact. And by the way, if your abilities to sell depend so much on personal interaction, you can improve your excellence by making sure that you reach the same excellence in digital. This is a learning curve. It makes you better. It will make you succeed. In future, you will be able to do both. You will be able to sell through the screen and personally. And maybe one day, I don't know, you may love to travel and so forth, but maybe one day you'll reach the point that I have reached, to love to be with your spouse at home, and you will prefer to sell something over the screen than personally.
Thank you, Emilio. Well, actually, we are going to, I'm conscious about the time and also about the many messages you have for us. So I wonder if we can fit, in the next 15 minutes, the rest of the comments you have for us, and also a final few minutes for some questions of the students that are very active in the chat, and it's wonderful. Really enjoying your presentation. So
okay.
How do you think we can split this time, the remaining time for the session?
Well, the first thing is very easy, because there is a promise that I always give for my professional life, and you know that. And this promise goes also for Westfield. Everybody who engages me is entitled to a full year of access to me. So all the 64 people in this call, you can contact me for the next full year until June 18, 2021. And it will cost you nothing. Of course, if you ask me to work for you days and days, I will disappear sometime. But if we speak about sustainable learning, I am happy and ready to return any kind of call or email that you have in order to deepen things. So don't be concerned that we only have 15 minutes. You have a full year time, and I'm here to help you, because there are 3 job categories in the world, according to Martin Seligman. The first one is the jobs. That's what you do to pay the mortgage, and that's what you do to feed your kids, okay? And that's a job you don't like. Then you have the second layer, which is the career. Probably most of you are in that layer. You're doing a job that you like, but maybe to do a better job above that, okay? That's the career. And then you have the calling, which is the job you do because you love it. Don't tell your boss, because he will diminish your salary, but this is something you adore. My wife always teases me. He says, Emilio, you can't even stand in the queue at the mail office without coaching the woman in front of you and the guy behind you. And I would do it because that's my life. So I'm happy to do it and to do. So I'd like to devote my next minutes to 5 belts that you need to earn to be able to be a better leader, to face not only Corona and post-Corona times, but every kind of challenge. The goal of it being to gain the license to operate of the stakeholders. Because we come from a world where you would do propaganda, you would influence, you would manipulate, you would do marketing, and this would lead to so-called bad profits. I give an example of what bad profit is, a wonderful example from Clementina, my eldest daughter. She was studying psychology in Bath, and she had a contract with Vodafone whereby she could have a local discount. She would pay nothing for local calls in Bath, and she would pay for calls abroad. Then she went to her clinical year in London to study schizophrenia, and it was at the middle of the contract. And she asked Vodafone, can I carry my home base to London? Because I'm moving to London. And Vodafone answered, no, you cannot. You signed for Bath, so you're going to pay as home base Bath, and all the other calls you're going to pay. So of course she was bound to the contract. Until the end of the contract, she paid this overdue money. This is a bad profit, because Vodafone got this money, but they will never get 1 cent from my daughter again. And my daughter tells everyone the story, and I'm telling you the story of my daughter, mentioning Vodafone, because of course it's a story that shows you that it's not sustainable in terms of relationships. And if you want to keep the license to operate, you better look at those 5 belts. The first belt is the yellow belt that you need to earn to gain credibility. This is about good information. Good information is based on, and I will share charts and material and sources with you with pleasure. And Rafa has all this stuff. And again, you can come back to me. Good information has to be true, has to be fast, has to be fact-based, has to be supported by good storytelling, has to be relevant, and you have to be able to admit mistakes. So everybody and their mother says, we develop our people. You can read it on the website of the mafia and on the website of the nail studio in the ghetto, okay? Everyone develops their people. Of course, behind that, there may be truth or not. Now, if you say, for example, 95% of our leaders used to be normal staff members before, that is a fact that supports your story. A better way to do it is tell the story of Susan. We hired Susan as a working student while she was studying business administration. She was so good when she finished her studies, we hired her in sales department. After 3 years, we gave her her first little team. Then she had a burnout. She came to her boss and said, "I'm sorry, I can't lead. It's too much for me." And she was on sick leave for 6 months. When she came back and said, "I just don't want to be a manager any longer," her boss, Monica, said, "No, we're going to make it. We're going to send you to the corporate university. We're going to make sure that you've got holiday substitutions as a manager somewhere. And I personally am going to mentor you." And Susie now is the board member of our company in charge of sales. That's a great story that tells you how you develop your people. You want to know it better? You want to do it better? Let Susie tell the story herself. So this is good information. You can know more about it if you want. The second belt, the orange belt you need to earn, is good communication. And now the biggest lie on earth is I communicate. It's bigger lie than saying I love dishwashing or I love you, darling. Because most managers who say I communicate don't mean I communicate. They mean I tell. There was a famous McKinsey consultant called Zeno of Elea. He lived 2,500 years ago in Sicily. And of course, he didn't work for McKinsey. He was a philosopher. He said, there is no coincidence that we have 2 ears and only 1 mouth, as we should listen twice as much as we speak. So communication is about listening. And strategy is always made from Pericles through Clausewitz to Mintzberg through Porter. All the big strategies have 2 vectors. The one arrow vector is the leader's goals and objectives to reach something in a certain period of time according to certain indicators. The second vector of the strategy is the context, competition, the market. Now, if you want to be a good communicator, you have to make sure that your whole organization listens to the market, to the competitors, and that you listen to customers. So you might have a board in your company. That's not enough. Make sure that the employees are represented in an employee board. Make sure that customers are represented in a customer board. I love Lufthansa. If I read a story in the Wall Street Journal about the Lufthansa's annual report, I read their EBITDA, their turnover, and maybe how many people they lay off. I couldn't care less. I love Lufthansa as a customer. I want to know whether they have more delays or less delays than the competitors. I want to know whether it's safer or not than their competitors. I want to know I'm a tall man, if I can sit in economy without hurting my legs, if I have a good catering, if I have good flights. So publish a report for the customers. Establish a customer board. Establish an ESG board. If you want to apply for a job at your company and you read the annual report, you read a P&L account. I want to know, as a 25-year-old woman, how many women are leading in this company. I want to know if there is place for people with handicaps and disabilities. I want to know how many people are allowed to work part-time. I want to know what compensation structures you have. So publish a report for employees and potential employees. This is about communication. The third belt you need to earn is enabling. You have to enable your stakeholders. And for enabling, you need to know a couple of things. First thing, if you leverage the weakness of your staff, this guy is very creative, but he's always late, and you send him to workshops how to be on time, you are leveraging his weakness. You are reaching an average underperformance of 25%. If you enhance his creativity, you will reach an average overperformance of 35%. Managing weaknesses or strength will give you a delta in performance, in bottom line impact of 60%. First thing you need to know about enabling. Second thing you need to know about enabling is how we learn. 70% of our learning is doing. 20% is relationships. 10% is theoretical learning. This is why I love Westfield, because they're linking all the things together. Rafa, if I understood him correctly at the beginning, said in Spanish that you're not only going to learn from us, you got to learn from yourselves. You are experienced people. You can teach things. This is relationships. Keep this alumni network going. Your virtual visits can turn into real visits. Make sure that you and your people spend some time during the year doing other jobs. Do holiday substitution of other leaders in your organization. If you're a brave organization, do holiday substitutions of leaders of another organization. If it's not a competitor, it works. Try these things out. 70% is learning by doing, 20% is relationships, 10% is theoretical learning. And if you know these two things, you know a lot about enabling your people. And if you enable your people, you will be able, and they should learn about strategy. How can a person in the call center be able to give a proper answer if he or she doesn't know what the strategy of the company is? They will adapt to the protocol, and at some point they will say, you may speak to my supervisor. And until you as a customer speak to the supervisor, you will have paid $200 waiting on the phone, and you will not be able to speak to the supervisor because the line will collapse and you have to dial in again. If you want to work for such a company, don't enable your people. And then we come to the fourth belt that you need to earn. And that is the green belt. It's the belt of empowerment. And empowerment is different from delegation. Empowerment means be able to let go, be able to give away power. We're working in an environment where you need all the brains in your organizations. And as good as you are, you don't walk on water. If you guys were walking on water, I would know that. You wouldn't be Marcos Nieto or Luisa Rivera, you would be Jesus Christ, okay? And I would know that you're Jesus Christ, and you wouldn't attend Westfield. So don't pretend you walk on water. Make sure you have all the people of your organization who are able to give you their brains. And to do that, you have to empower them. And the best way to empower, look, I coach, one of the things I do business coaching for top-level managers, psychopaths, and sociopaths who are leading FTSE 100 companies. These people come to my couch, they sit here, and the first thing they say, Emilio, I'm in a hamster wheel. I work like hell. I don't have time to breathe. Okay, my first question is, how much of this hamster wheel is your fault? How much is you as a bottleneck? And if you're a good leader, you give your people the power and you have the time to reflect, the time to do the strategy. Do a sabbatical, let go. And doing a sabbatical allows your people to grow. I'm a big fan, not only for demographic reasons, but also because I'm a father of 4 kids. Well, I don't know if I'm the father. They call me dad. They may be the kids of the plumber. However, I love them, even if they're not my kids. But I'm a big favor of paternity and maternity leaves. Let your women and people grow. The best thing that can happen to your organization is a woman who is a leader who leaves for a year, because you can put a more junior person in her position and let this person grow, and then let the woman come back to job. And while she's on maternity leave, she can do mentoring 1 hour a month on the phone, and she will be abreast of developments in her department, and she will be able to stretch and grow the people. So everything is possible. My successor at Allianz, I hired her when she was 26. She just got married. She was 46 when she became a successor with 3 grown-up kids, as a member of the 10 most powerful people in the largest insurance company of the world. It is possible, but you have to empower people, give away power, and we can discuss that. And the last belt you need to earn, which is then turns into the black belt, is the ability to drive change. Start from yourself. Reinvent business models. Look at purpose as a business model. We started, and this is my end, with the Rockefellers and Vanderbilts. They made billions exploiting people like slaves. And then when they were old, they were donating, and they invented philanthropy. Okay? So the Rockefeller Foundation is still a wonderful foundation doing lots of good stuff. Then we went through the period that most companies are still in, which I call the greenwashing or the whitewashing period, the CSR period. So with the left hand, we rape secretaries. With the right hand, we donate to the organization for abused secretaries, which is hypocrisy, okay? If you behave well with your employees and your customers and your investors, then you're doing a corporately responsible work. And we're going into an area, and that is as my end, where purpose will be the core of the business model. Only organizations will thrive who have a purpose that really makes sense. That you will ask yourself, I have a very good friend, Carolina, she's a genius. Carolina is the proof that women have no clue about science. She has 450 patents, okay? She has invented the navigation system on GPS, okay? She's a wonderful woman. She brought India from rank 155 in internet usage to rank #1 because she developed the first smartphone bottom-up in India, which was sold 450 million times in 18 months. Caroline Seifert, a genius, one of the big friends like Rafa. I only have great friends. I'm a bozo, but I have great friends. Caroline was called by Haribo. Haribo is a German company doing candies, okay? The owner of Haribo said, Caroline, I love you. Please help us to digitize our company. So she went there and she gave them some consultancy and they said, we'll love you. Okay, we hire you as a consultant. How many millions do you want? She said, I'm not going to get 1 cent for you. I did this because the owner is a friend of mine. But you guys produce sugar. Sugar makes dependency, makes people sick, is one of the 3 reasons why people die. Sugar, smoke, and alcohol. I'm not going to work for you. This is something that will happen more often in the future. I'm done. I'm sorry.
Wow. It's truly impressive, Emilio. Ignacio, I'm going to do something. Please, anyone here, I want to speak up and say something to Emilio. First come, first serve. El primero que hable, habla con Emilio y le hace una pregunta.
Bueno,
Luisa.
Hola. Pues
Hola.
bueno,
Habla un poco alto, se te oye muy bajito.
Vale, espero acá me puedan escuchar mejor. Digamos que Emilio, en verdad la rompiste. Para mí esto tiene toda la expectativa, me gané toda la confianza en haberlo hecho digital, porque para mí era muy triste no haber podido tener la experiencia física, poder viajar, poder relacionarme con el resto de mis compañeros y poder tener esta experiencia donde nos tuviste enganchados todo el tiempo, donde estamos aprendiendo de esta manera, donde nos compartes los conocimientos tan claros, tan concisos. Es muy motivante y para mí esto me conecta completamente con el resto de la experiencia. Muchísimas, muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Luisa. Emilio, es un placer. Te tendríamos aquí no 1 hora más, te tendríamos 24 horas. Sé que I know you love Westfield. I know you love what you do. That's why it's good that you are your own boss, so no one really knows that you are doing something you love. Really, thank you for being here. I think I speak on behalf of everyone here that it's a truly, truly pleasure and very insightful time with you always. So, well, you heard Emilio. He's fully available to any one of us that want to ask any question in the future. So I know as well that Emilio wants to share final marks for us. Do you have something else, Emilio?
Well, actually, I was trying, but it will take too much time. I was trying to share my screen with you with my email address, but I don't think it's necessary. You can you can make sure that the people get my email address, and I sent you also the stakeholder grid. The stakeholder grid is a little tool that is a little gift to you, and it's a gift for onboarding, but I use it also for reboarding after Corona, and it's very simple. It's a piece of paper where you have here you have your stakeholders, your boss, the customers, your staff, the main stakeholders that matter to you. And here you have some questions, and I have exemplary questions. The questions are, what would you keep from the Corona times lockdown? Or the second question could be, what do you want to absolutely change? What do we want to change totally after Corona time? And some other questions. And the last 2 questions are, where do you think we stand in terms of being a successful organization from 0 to 10? And the people will tell you 1, 4, 5, 6. And the last question is, what should we do to reach 10? And this is a stretch question. And this is a little tool that you can use whenever you have a new job, whenever you're reboarding now after the Corona time, or whenever you're being promoted in the organization, because it allows you a couple of things. First of all, instead of having the first 100 days, which is bullocks. The first 100 days were invented by Franklin Delano Roosevelt because he had to manage the world after the biggest repression that America had, and he had to invent the New Deal. That's why he asked for 100 days. But now everybody and their mother are asking for 100 days. This is ridiculous. So instead of asking for 100 days, before you even start a new job, you can start asking the people these questions. So what does it have as an advantage? It has an advantage that the most important thing you have in a new job is the first impression. And normally the first impression is, oh, I haven't even started. I don't know what to tell you. Give me 100 days and then I'll answer. So the first impression you will have is this one. Look at my hands. I'm defending myself against you. If you're using the stakeholder grid, instead of putting the hands like that, you're listening. You're telling, I don't know what to say. I haven't even started, but you tell me what I should change. So you're positioning yourself as a listening leader. The third reason is you craft a strategy. You have an idea of a strategy before you start a job, but you don't know what exactly the strategy is because, as I said before, it will need the context. And there is one big learning of psychology of the last 20 years is everything that I as a stakeholder own will be more successful. If you tell your staff to do something, they might do it if you inform them well. But if you make them participate in it and make it own the strategy, they will do it because it's their strategy. So the stakeholder grid allows you to have an input from the stakeholders and thereby change the strategy. So the stakeholders will recognize their own contribution to the strategy and it will become their strategy. So this is a little tool that will help you, and hopefully it's meant as a little gift to Westfield as part of your program, because that's what you usually do. I think it's a great idea, Ignacio and Rafa, to have this tool being given by your people. I love it, but you can have more tools. As I said, I'm at your disposal. You can contact me.
Thank you very much, Emilio. Truly, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Bueno, chicos, ha merecido la pena, yo creo, y lo que vamos a hacer, Ignacio, si te parece, es dejar los 15 minutos prometidos de descanso. Arrancamos ahora y volvemos en 15 minutos desde ahora. Thank you, Emilio. See you.
Thank you very much.
Volvemos en 15 minutos desde ahora. Por favor, aprovechad esos 15 minutos para saltar, para cantar, para ir al baño, para comer algo, para ver correos, que volvemos con muchas más cosas en 15 minutos. ¿Alguna cosa más, Ignacio?
No, nada más que aprovechen este tiempo de descanso, que recomiendo un buen uso del descanso porque probablemente nos va a hacer falta.
Gracias.
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 Gracias, nos encontramos en 15 minutos.
Gracias.
Nos vemos en 15 minutos.
Gracias.